Okay, so today let us see. I think yesterday I have shown like how to log into your Linux operating system, how to install it, and what are the changes you have to do in the configuration file to allow the remote connection to your Ubuntu operating system, right? So that is what we have seen yesterday. So same thing, and we are trying to install Docker after that, right? So I think that's where I have stopped. So let us try to install Docker on this, and then I will show you how to automate this particular process. So in order to install Docker on this particular VM, so you can follow the official document, Docker install Ubuntu. Just search for that in the browser so that you will get the first link, the official document itself. Scroll down. I think yesterday we discussed like what are the prerequisites, how to uninstall the old version, and then no need to worry too much about supported storage drivers. We will discuss that. Installation methods also no need to worry right now. Let's go to this. Okay. Let us understand one by one. So what's going on? So once it is up, I can log into this particular VM. What I did yesterday, I did a port forwarding, right? So if you remember what I used to do, I used to give localhost, and here root, and the port number is 2424, right? You can say I have successfully logged in. Now what I need to do, I need to install Docker, right? So for that, the first thing, okay, in Debian operating systems, Debian in the sense, see, in Linux operating system, we have totally two families which are mostly used actually. One is Red Hat family, that is RHCL, and one is Debian family. So Debian family in the sense, under that you will get Ubuntu operating system and Debian operating system. Okay, so these two comes under Debian family. So Red Hat family, you will get RHCL family, you will get like Red Hat, we get CentOS, and then we get Fedora. So these are like one families, okay, which means that operating system looks similar, okay. So that's how it is. So in Ubuntu operating
One
system,
moment.
sorry,
You're getting lot of background noise. It looks like echo.
background noise, something like breeze.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me switch off the fan. Just a second, I think that's clear. Is that clear now?
Yeah, yeah, no. Okay.
So yeah. Now what we have to do, as I told you, when you have logged into the Ubuntu operating system, which is new mission, right? Always try to update the database. Database in the sense, APT is a database like kind of utility. What it will do is nothing but what are the repositories you have, right? Simple. The concept is simple. Let me try to explain from scratch. Let's say what is repository in the sense, this is your server, right? And we will have so many repositories outside, okay. So in these repositories we will have packages, okay. Similar, we have so many repositories. So let's say this is official Ubuntu repository, okay. Let's say my operating system means my mission has to download the packages from official repository, right? So which means that I have to tell to my machine that please go and contact to this particular URLs and download the packages. That is what I have to convey, right? So let's say this is Ubuntu mission, for example, right now, whatever you are using. Now, how will you convey this? Okay, so for that we have a path where we will add the URLs in order to communicate to the repository. Okay, that is nothing but /etc apt sources list. This is the main file, and we have another file called we can create a subdirectories. Okay, dot list dot p. Okay, under this directory you can create your own file and you can place it, so that instead of adding all the entries in the single file, you can create a separate file for each and every repository. Okay, if you want that, you can use the second location. If you don't want to create a separate directory and save the details, you can directly add it in a single configuration file called /etc apt source.list. So once you add a repository details under this particular file or a directory, you have to execute apt update command. apt update command. So why this command is needed? Because your operating system has to understand that, okay, you added something new. Let me check whether I am able to communicate to this repository or not. Okay, so it will verify that and it will update its database. apt command will have its own database, not a engine, database engine. I'm talking about database in the sense it's a file. Okay, where it will get updated with all the new changes which we have in the configuration file. Okay, so when you have installed the operating system for the first time also, you have to run this command, and I told you to run the dist upgrade command, right, to ensure all the packages are up to date. Okay, after the reboot, actually generally we reboot the system only when there is a kernel upgrade. Okay, if there is no kernel upgrade, any packages which are upgraded doesn't need any system reboot. Okay, these are the 2 points which you have to remember. Now this is fine. So I did everything perfect, so nothing to worry about. So let me execute this upgrade and see if there is any other package. You can see, right, in from yesterday and today I had some packages which need to be upgraded. So let's run. Okay, perfect. So now what, according to the documentation, they're telling you to install some packages. See, in order to install some package, see in Windows what we do, we download the .exe file, and if you double click on that, it will start installing. It will ask you the location, whether you want to create a shortcut key, a shortcut icon or something like that. It will install. It will tell you which way, on which path I need to install this .exe DLL files. Okay, so generally it will go to the program files directory, right? So that's how it will like ask you to install the package. But in Linux operating system, especially for Ubuntu and Debian operating system, we execute apt command, or we have apt-get. Okay, or sometimes we can use apk command or aptitude. We have so many ways to install actually. Okay, so let us follow one, so that later on you can see multiple ways. Okay, so to install some package, we use apt-get install, or we can use apt install. Anything is accepted. Okay, so let's copy this and paste it here. What it is trying to do, let me explain. So it is trying to install. See, slash in the sense you're continuing. So instead of writing in a single line, you're writing in multiple lines. Altogether, it is a single line. But for our visually to understand that such a long command, right, with so many packages installing at a time, we have given in individual lines. So we are trying to install this package, this package, this package, this package, and this package. Why these packages are needed? Because to go further, in order to execute curl command or gpg command, so to execute that we need these packages. These are like prerequisites. Okay, so for that we are trying to do. So now it is asking you, so this is the package which we'll try to install. Some packages are already installed. You can see these packages are already installed with the latest version. So no need to worry. Only one package which is not installed is nothing but apt transport HTTPS. This is the package which is not installed. Okay, so it is trying to install for you. That's why.
Okay.
Okay, done. So what are the packages are needed for me? Minimum required packages that I have installed successfully. And next one is nothing but I need to download the key, which is called as GPG key. So GPG key, in the sense, you are not using a licensed one. It is an open source project. Okay. So in the Docker, we have two types of releases, right? One is community edition and one is enterprise edition. Enterprise edition is a licensed one where you need to purchase a license key, and while installing you have to upload the license key and all this. So this is what we do. But whereas non-licensed key means official open source, we generally call it as open source. Most of the companies will try to use open source only. Why? Because it's free of cost, and they will try to see whether it is stable or not based on the commits, contributors, and all. Okay, there are other factors and criteria actually. So in the Docker, we are trying to install right now with community edition. Okay, so community edition in the sense open source. So even for the open source also, in order to download the package or install something and do something, we need a key. Okay, which is called a ZPZ key for open source projects. Okay, so for open source tools, when you try to install, you will try to download the ZPZ key, general public license. Okay, for that, in order to download, you have to execute this command. This command will download and it will install, okay, onto your system. Done actually. Okay. I think generally we look like this. apt hyphen key list. I think we don't have right now. I'll show you. So this is one, and after that, I have to create a repository. Why is this? What this command will do is nothing, but I will show you what it is designed to do. So this command, what it will try to do is nothing, but it will create this particular file under the. I told you right. For Docker, if you want to save it in a separate repository file, you can create a separate file under this directory, and you can create with your own name. But the extension of that particular file should be .list. You know the extensions, right? Some files will have certain format based on the tool. So like .execl, XLS, like Excel files, right? Microsoft. So similar to that. So for repository files, always the extension of that particular file will be .list. Write whatever name you want, the file name, but the extension of that particular file should be .list. Okay, so this file will be created and it will add this entry into that particular file. That is what it is trying to do actually. Why this particular details are needed? Because in order to download the Docker packages from the Docker repository, we are adding this particular entry. Okay, let me show. First, let me show you whether we have the file or not under that, so that you will have a proof. See, there is no file as of now. Okay, so if I execute this command, see, enter. Now, if you see here, there is a docker.list. If you look at this particular file, so these entries are nothing but it will download the packages, whatever it is needed related to Docker based on your operating system version. Focal in the sense, how will you come to know? LSB underscore release hyphen A. You can see here it's a focal, okay, and then stable. Stable means it will download the stable packages, and while downloading it will verify this particular signature, okay, and it will download the packages from this URL. Okay, so deb in the sense debian packages. Okay, and the architecture is AMD64. Okay, so this is how it will download you. Okay, so your architecture is this 86 underscore 64, which is nothing but AMD64 processor. Now this is how. Okay, fine, well and good. If you remember, I told that whenever you add a new repository or if you do some changes in the repository file, definitely we have to run this update command. For Red Hat and CentOS operating system, it is not needed actually. While running yum update command itself, it will run this in the background and then it will try to install something while installing the package. But apt update is something where you have to do this whenever you add a new entry here. You can see. Okay, that's how it is. Now we can go ahead. See here also it is written that. Okay. Now we need to install the packages. Now totally we are trying to install three packages actually. So here we are trying to install three packages. One is docker hyphen ce, one is docker hyphen ce hyphen cli, and one is container b dot io. Okay. So here docker hyphen ce is a server package. Okay. And Docker CE CLI hyphen is nothing but client package. Okay. This is the runtime, which is called as container runtime basis. This is called as container runtime package. Okay. What are these exactly? Let's discuss. So server in the sense, see, in order to create a containers on your Docker host machine, this is the actual package which will try to run in the background. Means there will be a service running in the background that will ensure that your containers are created properly. That is called a server package. Client package in the sense, you need to execute command result. Say, I need to interact to my server. How will you interact? Through CLI or through dashboard or through some particular API calls. Okay, API calls everybody cannot understand, right? So that's the reason we need to give a simple way like CLI commands. CLI commands in the sense, I need to interrupt to my Docker engine, which is nothing but Docker server, right? So to interact, we have a Docker CLI. You execute Docker commands like that, right? So that command will pass the information to the server, whatever I want to do. Okay. So to pass that information, we need this particular CLI package. Container D is the actual tool who will be creating the containers in the backend. Your Docker is not creating a containers. Okay. So Docker is providing you a platform to ensure not only creating containers, we have so many other flexibility or other features present around that particular container D. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do. Before Docker only, we have so many container tools actually. But Docker, it became more popular because it is flexible to use and it is cross-platform. Okay, cross-platform in the sense you can install Docker on Windows, you can create a containers and you can migrate it to Linux Docker also. Okay, you can install Docker on Mac, Linux operating system, Solaris. You can install on desktop like Windows, Mac desktops and all. You can install anywhere and you can run your containers and you can shift your containers from one platform to another platform. Okay, so that's how it is. So these are the packages which we are going to install. So this is the command which you have to copy and then you have to execute on your side. Okay, it is asking you whether you want to continue or not. You can see your packages are getting downloaded from the few packages are getting downloaded, dependency packages are getting downloaded from the Ubuntu repository, and the official containerd docker c-cli are downloaded from this URL. You can see this is the URL. Any questions meanwhile?
This is Uday here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sudhir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. So we are pre-request sessions building a one VM with a Linux platform or whatever, Ubuntu or whatever. As a top of that, we are deploying a Docker engine. I can understand that, but I just want to know if I go for a test and dev environment for example,
Hmm.
if I go for a test and dev, I have a VMware farm. I'm creating a separate one VM. Is a huge capacity resources I'm allocating. For example, 16 CPU with a massive size because I'm going forward where test and dev is going to be grow on my environment.
Hmm.
So how can you think about it? What is it required more resources to allocate initially, but they depends on the requirement. We can increase it whenever we need it. You understand my
See,
question?
yeah. So a resource, it depends upon the planning, right? So first of all, you have to understand what is the intention of using that particular platform. Are you like you have to understand how many applications you are going to run, or how much load of applications you are going to run on that particular platform. That's a pre-plan which we need to have. So based on that, we have to think two steps above, and we have to give some particular resources to that particular platform. Let's say some 20 GB or like let's say 50 GB of RAM or something like 2 terabyte or 3 terabyte of your hard disk and some particular core CPUs like 15 or 16 something like that. You need to allocate. Okay, it all depends. So this base resources which you try to allocate on top of your Docker, you have to see like what kind of applications you are trying to run and how many applications you will try to run and how will you allocate the resources. Okay, so by default, containers doesn't ask you to give how much resources they want. They will create dynamically. Okay, resources will be utilized by your containers which are running on the virtual machine or a bare metal server, whatever it is, the platform where you try to run your containers, right? Whatever it is. So they will try to utilize how much they need at that point of time. When it is needed, it will increase. When it is not needed, it will decrease automatically. This is the dynamic process which will happen. Sometimes you have to think, let's say the containers which are running on my platform are too huge and the resources what I have may not be sufficient. Obviously, you have to take a downtime, right? So you have to take a downtime and you have to increase the resources. So that causes, it depends. That causes your containers to go down, and again you have to manually start it. It's not that all the containers will get collapsed, right? It will be vanished. So you have to, it will stop based on the restart policy actually. So based on that, when you start your operating system again, it will start your containers automatically, or else if your restart policy is never, you have to start it manually. Okay, so that's what we have to do, but we have
Right.
to plan a bit and we have to allocate the resources. That's what we have to do.
Right. So traditionally, so if you go for Nginx or Apache, they're given a this is
Mhm.
the customization requirement as per the standards, right?
Mhm.
So how can you
Yes.
define in Dockers? So Dockers, for example, if you go for a Apache or Linux, you can do CPU with the 4 GB is quite more than enough to run a web server. So that's a traditional
Yes.
way. So in Dockers, how can you define what kind of resources you want to allocate it?
Yes, exactly. See, containers when you try to create, right? So whatever the resource you have on your base machine means where your containers platform is running, it will try to utilize that. Okay. So in how much amount of RAM and CPU is needed for that particular web application, it depends upon the number of hits, right? Number of hits of that particular application who are trying to access, how many connections are getting established after that. So it depends upon that. Not only your application consumes the resources, when the number of hits increases, or number of resources like number of clients are accessing that particular application, the resource requirement also need to be increased, right? So these are like sketch which we design or which we take a note. We will try to understand the need of that particular application. We will try to understand whether it is a e-com website or a normal website you are trying to run, or it's generally a simple application which is going to run only for internal purpose. Based on that, we have to understand. We have to generate some load by using some external tools and see how much it can handle. So based on that, we will set some margin and we will give it to the client saying that these many clients can be connected at a time for this amount of time, and this is the amount of load can be generated where our servers can accept the resources, right? Consume the resources. That's what we do the testing. That's how we do the testing, right? Then only it will go to the production level. That's how the testing servers are designed. So when you find something which is not sufficient, obviously you will increase for the production when you're going ahead. So these are the plans. It's not that easy to decide on the like on the talk. We have to do practically and we have to test it, generate some load and see how it is working. Is that resource are sufficient or not? We have to understand. Okay, generating that loads also the client, we will understand based on the number of clients that they are trying to access, and we will double the load actually. And we will see if he says 10 clients, we will try to generate the load for 20 clients, and we will see whether it is acceptable or not. That's how we do.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
I understand that.
Sudhir, I have a question.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have run these commands. Okay, I remember when I tried to do this earlier, so I forgot, when I copied these commands, okay, I did not copy it completely. So
Okay.
the CLI throws me an error. Okay, but then I try to
Mhm.
run this again. It says that your source
Mhm.
package is corrupted. You need to
Okay.
remove this something. So how do you fix this kind of errors? Suppose if you are not copying it correctly and CLI throws me error, next time it will not allow you to do it again. It's actually
Yeah, first see, okay, first see which packages are corrupted. Okay, in Linux operating system, if you execute like especially for daemon dpkg-l command, it will list all the packages which you have installed on your operating system right now. Okay, most of the cases for all the packages you will say I install, okay, installed. This
Oh
is
yeah.
the abbreviation for II. Okay, if you see something that is corrupted, what you have to do, you have to remove that particular package. So simple, apt-get remove and give the package name. Okay, you have to remove that. It will ask you to remove the dependencies. So, but no need to worry about the dependencies. Okay, if the dependencies are itself are
Remove the
corrupted,
package.
then we have to remove that particular dependency. Okay,
Okay, so the name that remove, and then you just need to give the
the
name, right?
package name.
That's it.
Let's say this is the package, right? So you have
Yeah.
to give apt
Yeah.
hyphen get remove, and then this the package name. You have to give like this. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Don't
Okay.
by default when you're trying to remove the package, the main package, it doesn't remove the dependencies automatically. Okay. So there is a command in Ubuntu operating system where you execute this auto remove, right? There is a command called auto hyphen
Mhm.
remove. So what this command will do, if you see there is a package which is not utilized by any service or any other main packages, those will get removed automatically. Okay. Unnecessary
Okay.
packages. Sometimes that could happen, right? Let's say, for example, now, let's say this is the main package and you forgot, or obviously this command will not remove the dependency packages. Okay. So now there
Mhm.
are some packages are there which might be creating some vulnerabilities. You don't know about it, right? What dependencies they have
Mhm.
installed. Sometimes we ignore it. So those it has installed so many dependencies and one of the packages creating some vulnerabilities. Then you found that okay, in my system I have that, then you will try to remove it. If you run this kind of commands, right, it will automatically find the packages which are not used by any one of them, and then it will remove it. Okay, that's the best way to do it in Ubuntu operating system. Okay, this is how
Okay.
it is. Yeah. So now packages are installed, right? How will you verify whether your Docker is installed successfully? Docker hyphen version. Now this is the version which we have installed. Docker latest version 20.10.7. This is the latest version. Okay. So if you see apt-cache policy docker-ce, you can see, right, we can install 19.03 from this particular repository. We can also install the latest packages this. So if you see 3 stars, like 3 stars only, you'll see which is nothing but this is the package which we have installed right now. Or this will tell you which package has been, which will be installed when you try to execute apt install command, and in the install section it will tell you which package was installed right now. Either this 3 star marks you can see in the table or you can see in the install section. Okay, that's how it is. So now, okay, your Docker was installed successfully. These are the manual steps which we have done right now. Let us automate the process. I don't want to, every time if I want to practice related to Docker, I don't want to do this all these steps and wait for 10 to 15 minutes to complete my task, right? Okay, so then what we can do is nothing but we can use a tool called Vagrant. Okay, Vagrant providers. So in the Vagrant, your Vagrant can communicate to Oracle Virtualbox, Hyper-V, which is especially for Windows, Docker, means to create containers as well if you want. This Vagrant tool is able VMware workstation as well. Okay, so it will use this kind of providers in the sense what your Vagrant will communicate to them and it will create a resource for you whatever you have specified in the Vagrant file. Okay, so we have to write a Vagrant file. That is not a scripting actually. We have to follow some syntaxes. That's the only thing. Okay, you have to write a Vagrant file, and in the Vagrant file, you will specify what you want to do. In order to download this particular Vagrant, you can click on download and you can install based on your operating system. Okay, if it is Mac, if it is Windows, if it is Linux or Debian or CentOS or Arch Linux. Okay, so you can just install it. Okay, in my case, I already installed it. It is already there, I guess. Let me show you how I can do is nothing but command prompt. Let me open. If it is not there, I will just try to install it. You see, it's already there, right? So I got the output related to help. Okay. So which is already installed. For you, you just download. It is a .exe file. Just double click. After just execute vagrant -help. Okay. Now what is the path? You can see uses Krishna, right? This is the path. Okay. So here, if you go to my directory, here you will see something related to Vagrant file. This is where you have to place. Okay. Now try to open this particular file. I will show you some sample examples. What we are trying to do here, let me explain. Okay. So here we are using Vagrant tool. You can see this is a Vagrant file. You can see V capital letter. Rest of the characters are small. Okay. Now what we need to write, this is the starting of your Vagrant file and this is the end. Okay. Now vagrant.configure. Configure in the sense we are trying to define something. It is a version 2. Do config. Config in the sense this is the variable name. This will be the reference. You can see here config.config.config.config. Here if I write Sudhir, you need to write Sudhir.vm, 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 Sudhir.vm like that. So this is not constant. It is not mandatory that you have to give this name. You can give any sort of name. That name will be used as a reference to call other variables. Okay, that's one thing you have to remember. Now I'm trying to create a Ubuntu 18.04. I'm not using Ubuntu 20.04. This, if you want to know what is this actually, let me show you. Vagrant VM box Ubuntu. Okay, if you want 20.04, just click on that. We have a repository, okay, where we will have all these images and all. Now if I want to install 20.04, which means that your operating system inside the VM will be 20.04 Ubuntu. Okay, if you want that, you have to give this. So let's change this. I want 20. Okay, let's save. I already saved it. You can see Ubuntu/Ubuntu-20.04. So what this Vagrant tool will do, it will come to this particular repository and it will download this 20.04 and it will install the operating system in that particular VM. Okay, and for that VM, it will assign the hostname called Docker server and the network is by default. If you don't specify this, okay, it will get, okay, even though if you don't specify, it will get a NAT network. Okay, that is fine. Additionally, without NAT, you want host only network. You don't know what is host only network, right? Since I have not specified anything. So by default, you will get this particular additional interface as well, which means that now your VM will have two adapters. Okay, I should have shown you, right? One adapter. Totally, we can attach a 4 adapters, 4 interfaces. So now the second interface will have this IP address. How? If you go here, if you go to tools, network, here you can see, okay, these are the two interface. So from this you will get one IP address to your VM. Okay, so this is like a switch or a router which will assign the IP address for you. Okay, so forget about that right now, but you will get an IP address from there. Okay, now yeah, that is one thing. And here provider in the sense, okay, what should be the name of your VM? See, now here I have written Ubuntu Docker, right? So it is like Ubuntu Docker demo. And what should be what RAM you want to allocate to this particular VM? 4 GB. vCPUs 2. Okay, I have totally 8. One is already occupied by your VM. So totally I will have 7. In that 7, I want to allocate 2 to my this virtual machine. Okay, and this part was end. See, this is the opening and this is the close. Here also you can say do VB. VB in the sense this will be the reference variable and you have to use VB.name, VB.CPU, VB.memory, anything related to this particular settings. Okay, you have to write like this. Let's say here if I write Sudhir, Sudhir.name, Sudhir.memory, Sudhir.vCPUs, that's what you have to write. Okay, so this settings was done here. Okay, after, okay, till here it is related to virtual machine, what operating system it has to use, what should be the host name. how many IP addresses you have to allocate, and what should be the name of that VM in the Oracle Virtualbox, and how much memory and how much CPU. This is fine. Okay, well and good. After that, the operating system is created successfully. Then I want to install Docker. It is nothing but a shell commands, right, which we execute. Okay, so those things are written into this particular block. This is the block where you have written the entire what you want to do. See, you can see the steps. apt update command, since the operating system was created for the first time, right, and remove the old packages if they have anything, and after that remove some particular directory as well, and then execute this command to install the minimum required packages. After that, execute this command to repository for the repository. Okay, and after that add this repository, and after that update the command update, and then install the packages, and then verify your Docker was installed successfully. This is the shell block which you have written. So which means that once the operating system was created, the VM was created, it will run this command. It is like a post action. Once a VM is created only, right, I logged in and then I installed this particular packages. So similar to that, it will install. So Vagrant tool will do it for you. So when the Vagrant tool has completed its job, I will log into my VM and I will be able to see my package which is already installed. Okay, so let's do that. So any questions in this?
Yes, again.
Let's
So is this is for Vagrant, but if you think about any
yes.
other provider, VMware or Hyper-V,
Hmm.
so do we have to change the
This will
parameters
change.
and variables?
See, this will change. Your provider will be something like Hyper-V. Here you can see Virtualbox. So it will understand that, okay, I have to contact to my Oracle Virtualbox. And don't try to create a VM and run the Vagrant in this particular VM, because it cannot talk to the Vagrant, right? See, it cannot talk to your Oracle Virtualbox drivers. Those drivers are installed on your base machine, not in the virtual machine, right? So don't try to run this particular Vagrant tool inside the VM. Run on the base machine, like Windows or what are the base machines you have. Okay, that is one more point. Yeah, go ahead. You're saying something.
Yeah, the parameters and variable. So if I
Hmm.
want to run the same parameters and variable for VMware machines and
Hmm.
Citrix or whatever, so it's
Let's say
work or
you
else we
want
have
to
to
run.
change.
Let's say you want to run on VMware workstation. So the provider will change. Okay, and you have to give some particular parameters like based on that particular provider. So always there is a reference document. If you have changed your provider, so based on that you have to see the Vagrant file. Okay, let's say I'm trying to use Docker, okay, or VMware. Just click on that overview. It will tell you installation usage. You can see here, right? Configure, it is telling you HashiCorp, Bionic 64, and then provider is VMware desktop. Okay, so then you can see the boxes. Box in the sense, it will tell you what we have to use and all. You can see here, provider is VMware underscore desktop. This got changed.
Yeah, I agree with that. My question here is I'm not talking about the VMware workstation or Zen something. I'm not talking about the end
Mhm.
user side. I'm talking about the VMware form or Citrix Zen. So do we need any parameters? For example, if you run the same file in VMware,
See, you understand the point, right? See, for Oracle VirtualBox or whatever the provider you use, the specifications will change, obviously, right? See, that is a different driver. It supports a different drivers and different parameters, and this provider supports a different drivers and different parameters. So based on that, you have to modify your Vagrant file, obviously. This might be common. See, this might be common, but this might change based on the provider. Okay. Okay, so and this will also change. Why? Because you are not using Oracle VirtualBox. It might not have a private network or something like that. So based on the provider, this section will change. Okay, so what parameters and all, you have to do some study. You have to do some work around. Okay, you have to understand about this tool. But this will be common because whether it is a VMware workstation or a Docker or let's say a Oracle VirtualBox, you will be creating a Linux operating system, whatever it is. After that, the shell will be the same, right? Okay, so similar to that. Okay. Now, after this Vagrant file was created successfully, what you have to do, go to the terminal, and which command you have to execute is nothing but this one, Vagrant up. So since your files are already exist here, okay, you can see this particular your Vagrant, and there is one
Hello,
backup file as well. Sorry?
Sudhir. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So my question is the command which is in the uh, Vagrant file. So by default,
Mhm.
it will use root user. Am I right?
Obviously, yeah. By default, it
So
will
my
use a root user, or
okay. Hmm.
let's say it will be using sometimes like sudo user called Vagrant. Okay. So your
Okay.
Vagrant operating system means the box image which we have, right? So by default, it will be using a Vagrant user. Okay.
No, no. I'm talking about the inside the VM. So it will create
Yeah,
a
that's what.
Vagrant user
See,
inside the
once a
VM.
VM is created, right? So that VM is created through this particular box, Vagrant box,
Hmm.
which is nothing but ISO. For example, let's say
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
ISO is designed in such a way that it will have a by default user called Vagrant. Okay. So either it will run with a Vagrant user or it will run with a root user. Well, we are installing the operating system. What I have created a test user, right? Because direct root access is not allowed. Okay. So
Hmm.
similar to that, now if you look at your Vagrant file, okay, so this Vagrant file, all the commands which you are executing will be executed through, obviously 90% it will be executed with the Vagrant user itself. Okay, it depends upon the ISO. If it is 18.04, it is running with actually Vagrant user. So everything will be added as a sudo, and that's how it will get installed. So let's
Okay.
verify here itself. It will show you and how it is getting installed. Okay, so let's
Just
do
one
it.
question. Is it possible to
Yeah,
mention the actual ISO file which is provided by Ubuntu
this
here?
one. Yeah, yeah, this is the one.
No, no. My question is, can I write here the actual ISO file path, or that will
No,
not require any?
it has some limitations. Why? Because Vagrant should do an SSH and it has
Hmm.
to do some particular changes in the configuration file. There are some particular things which it should be done. Okay, so it doesn't say if you are using actual ISO, right? It will ask you for the prompting. It will ask you a prompt, right? To select the language, keyboard language, disk partition, networks, and then layout. Okay, and then it will ask you the network, and then it will ask you the proxy details, mirror details, and all. How will you give that? There is no other way, right? So this ISO is something where all those things are already passed. Okay, it's like a kickstart installation where all the things are ready. So all the minimum required things are already set. English language is a default and all. If you read about that particular box, you will understand what are those default. Okay, so it will have all the things ready, and Vagrant also user also is created in that particular image. Okay, so now what it is trying to do, so that's the reason it will be much faster. Why it is too fast? Because the VM is created too fast, because all the things are already set. No need to configure anything from your end or from the Vagrant tool end. It is already configured in the image. It will just install it on your
Okay.
platform.
And this image is provided by Ubuntu for Vagrant, or Vagrant create itself for
Vagrant
that
has created its own images. Yeah, it's not officially from Ubuntu. It's created by your Vagrant and it is verified. Okay, it's only for testing
Okay.
purposes. See, we don't use it for production. It's only to simplify our job. It's not a production ready tool actually. Okay, we don't use it in productions. That's straightforward answer. Okay.
Okay. And Vagrant is for, I think, type 2 hypervisor. It will not work with type 1. I
Type
think the
2, it's
previous
not for
person,
type 1. No, no, no,
yeah, that,
no.
okay, that's why I think the previous person asking about the VMware EXI host. I think so.
Did he ask for EXA? I thought it's for VMware Workstation. Sorry, maybe I missed it. Yeah. See, it is nothing related to Workstation
Yeah.
Hypervisor 1. It cannot write. See, it is a software. Software
Hmm.
can be installed only on the operating system platform, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So how will
we
you install
cannot
your
use it
Vagrant?
for any
Yeah,
cloud or
that's it.
something. So we have to use Terraform or other provisioning tool for
Terraform or
that.
Ansible or what? Terraform is the best one for infrastructure. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, we have the part of the course, right? At that time, I will show you how to use Terraform for Kubernetes and AWS. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sudhir, uh,
Yeah.
hello. So in this, the third line says config.vm.hostname is equal to Docker server,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this seventh line says vb.name is equal to Ubuntu Docker demo. What I did
Okay.
not understand.
Let me
What is
explain.
Docker?
This is your VM name. Okay. Your host name is this one. Okay. Is that same? No, right. VM is to identify. In this particular tool, if I want to identify my VM, I will set some name. Okay. Host name is something. Okay. If you want to reach to this particular VM, let's say for example, it's not getting opened up. Okay. Now, if I want to do something from remote location and I want to reach to this particular VM with the not only with the IP address, I want to because every time I cannot remember the IP address. That's really tough for me. To reach to this particular VM, we need some particular name. That name is called as host name. Host in the sense your VM or a bare metal server or anything or an instance that is called as host where you have installed an operating system. So that host name is nothing but a name where you can reach to that particular server not only with IP address with this particular name as well. We generally call it as domain, right? www.google.com. It's a website. For your server, you will assign some name that is called as host name. Okay,
Yeah,
is that point clear? So now let's try to install. Okay, so now what I need to do, go to my base machine and just execute Vagrant up. Vagrant up. It will automatically look for your Vagrant file in the current working directory and then it will install. Okay, you can see it's going on. Okay, it's downloading that particular Bento 18. Oh, did I modify it 20.04? I saved it, right? Okay, maybe my mistake. Let's see. I think that's what to do. So meanwhile, let me look at Oracle Virtualbox. You can see, right? A new VM was created, Ubuntu Docker demo. See, there are two interfaces, and you can see the RAM 4096, nothing but 4 GB, two CPUs. Okay, so it's going on. Let's see. It's going on.
Suppose
You can see the
we are
user,
using.
right? We are using Vagrant user, and it is using your Vagrant tool is using a private key to communicate to that particular VM with the user called Vagrant user, and this is the IP address and the port number is 2222. Can someone tell me what is this?
localhost port forwarding.
Yeah. So yesterday we did a port forwarding, right? If you remember 2424. So similar to that. So Vagrant will automatically bind your port number on your Windows to your virtual machine with this 2222 to 22 port number. Okay. Port number connection. So you can see. So inline script. Now you can see inline script in the sense that is where your shell commands are running. You see update command, other things will get run. It's going on. See, sometimes in this shell, right, in this command prompt, you will not see what is happening. You need to just press enter. Okay. So tomorrow we will see how to create a GCP account and how to create an instance in that particular GCP because some people doesn't have enough resource in their local system, right? Then how will you practice? That's what.
Hi Sudhir, Shubham here.
Yes, Shubham.
So I have a question like we are using in GCP or suppose AWS EC2. In that case, where to run Vagrant and file?
See, Vagrant is not suitable for cloud providers. That's how it is. If it is there, I could have shown it actually, but it doesn't support. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
For that, you have to use a Terraform. Let's say I want to spin up some instance with some VPCs and all as a prerequisites and all, right? For that, Terraform is the best tool to use. Or we have Ansible as an alternative. But for infrastructure as a code, Terraform is the best. Okay,
Yeah.
Ansible can also do. Ansible is especially designed for configuration and management. It can do infrastructure as a code, but it is especially designed for configuration and management. Okay,
Okay.
you have to learn these tools. Why? Because now you are like DevOps engineers and like skill sets are needed in more tools, right? So you have to understand these. Okay, these are like simplifying our jobs to do it some particular quicker, like what do you say, like if you want to spin up something as a fast and all, you have to know about these kind of tools which will simplify your jobs. But in nowhere we use this particular Vagrant tool in productions. Okay,
Okay.
it will be only in our desktops.
Hi, Sudhir. This is Kalyani.
I
I
think.
think you asked, I mean, you told that you will be sharing the video to create how to create
Yeah,
VM on Google Cloud Platform.
yeah.
I think you didn't receive that yet.
Okay. No, no, no. I'm saying that tomorrow I'll show and then
Oh,
we will share the video as well. So that why? Because I cannot show my credit card details. These are details are needed, right? So those things I will skip. Okay. How to
okay.
create an account? It's simple. You have Gmail account, right? Obviously everybody will have 99%. Okay. If you
Yeah.
have a Gmail account, that's enough. Open the user URL called console.google.com. It will open the dashboard. You have to give a credit card details and all. They will detect only 1 rupee. If you are worried about credit card, give debit card. Okay, nothing will happen. They will detect only 1 rupee. They will give it back to you in 2 days, and they will credit you 22,000, which you can use it for 1 year. Okay, until the 22,000 is done or 1 year is completed, whichever comes first, your account will be hold. Okay, that's better, right, than AWS. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now Vagrant job has done. You can see Docker version it is showing you perfect 20.10.7. Okay. So now if I go to this VM, can I log into this? Any guess? Can I log in? No, right? Why? Because I don't know the username password. Then how Vagrant has communicated to this using a key, right? So if I want to communicate for the first time, if I want to log in and do some changes, Vagrant, okay, SSH. First of all, let me show Vagrant list. Okay, so first of all, you have to see something like Vagrant status. You can see a name called default, right? It is running state. Okay, and you can see the provider in the brackets. Now, Vagrant SSH default. So in the background, your Vagrant tool is using SSH key, private key to communicate to the user called Vagrant. You can see to which user you have logged in. It's a Vagrant user, right? If I want to switch to the user, see, now I can set a password. Let's say test123, test123. Okay, now I can go here. I can use, see, now I can use root logged in. So my job is done. If I execute IP space A command, you can see now there are two interfaces. Forget about what is the Docker 0. I will explain you. It's a part of the course. Okay. So no need to worry about that right now. So now we have two interfaces. One is NAT and one is host only. What is this host only and all you will come to know in the networking session tomorrow. So but today let us understand this. Okay. So this job is simplified, right? It took only maybe 2 minutes approximately. So that's how no need to sit in front of my desktop, right? I can do my job, go have something and come back and log into my VM with Docker installed successfully. Okay, so this is how it is. So this Vagrant file you can store anywhere, right? You can give it to anyone. You can store it in GitHub account, version control system, and just give it to someone. They will try to spin up the same thing if they are also using Oracle VirtualBox. So for you, it is no need to explain them what you have to follow for the steps. Automatically, it is written in the Vagrant file. That Vagrant file is now used anywhere by anyone to create your virtual machines with a Docker install. Okay. So this is how the job is simplified. So tomorrow, let us understand how to use this. What do we call? Okay. So how we can use this particular Oracle, Google account in order to create instances for our practice purpose. Okay. Tomorrow we'll see that. Simple. It looks like this actually. Let me show, and then I will sign up. Okay. So just you can log in with your email account actually. So this is how it is. You can see it was credited with there is a amount. Let me show you the billing section. So you see 21,000 which is credited. Right now I have 90,000 left. Okay. So tomorrow we will be seeing how to create instances in this compute engine. Okay. Virtual machines. Okay. How to create a virtual machines. Kubernetes engine. It's not needed, but I will show you how to create a Kubernetes cluster in GCP account. Okay. It's so easy. Like you learn nothing actually. Okay. But anyway, I'll just show you how to create a Kubernetes cluster in GCP. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to see how to create instances as of now. When we come across Kubernetes session, then we can look into that. Okay. Since daily I used to stop these virtual machines on daily basis. You can see this. Okay. Whenever it is needed, I will start this VMs. Whenever it is not needed, I will stop this instances. Okay. That's what I used to do. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? We can stay back or else we can wind up the day. So any videos which are done till now, I think management will share the videos as of now, or they will be creating a portal. I think they will be creating a portal for you maybe today or tomorrow, and they will upload all the videos. Meanwhile, I will ask them to share the videos with your email accounts. Okay, so a drive or something, you can access the videos as of now. Okay.
So there, one question. We
Yeah.
have since we have created only one virtual machine with Vagrant, we logged into default. If we
Of
launch
course.
around 10 virtual machines, then uh,
It will be created with a different name. So then you have to ensure that you have a Vagrant file in a different location. See, same Vagrant file cannot be placed in the same location, right? That's a problem actually here. So if you want to specify a specific Vagrant file, you have to give an option called -f. You
no,
understand,
no.
right? See, when you're giving Vagrant status command, you will see only default, right? So if you create another VM, it will create some particular duplicate, so it will be created with another name. Actually, it's not default. Okay, so it will create with another name, and that's how it will run your virtual machine. Now I think I will show some screenshot where I had actually when you try to run multiple instances using that particular Vagrant file. Okay, let me give that for you.